Gilbert Arenas was one happy camper leaving jail Wednesday after his arrest for allegedly hosting high-stakes illegal poker games. The moment he stepped outside the detention facility in Los Angeles, a smirk broke across his face like a teenager who had just pulled off a harmless prank and gotten away with it. A video that quickly went viral on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, captured the jubilant exit. In the clip, Arenas is seen practically dancing his way down the concrete stairwell, pumping his fists like he had just won a championship, this time, not on the court, but in the courtroom. The camera woman, whose laughter fills the background, playfully teases him as he gets closer. "Free," she shouts, followed by a cheeky, "You better not," as Arenas draws nearer. He's dressed in a loose-fitting t-shirt and a pair of basketball shorts, clearly not concerned with making a fashion statement. He flashes a grin that stretches from ear to ear. It's the kind of smile that only someone truly unbothered could manage after walking out of jail. And just before he steps out of the camera frame, he proudly declares, "They can't hold me," a statement delivered with the flair of a man who believes he's still in control of the game, even if the rules have changed. That confidence may come from knowing he had posted a $50,000 bond, chump change to someone like Arenas, who made over $160 million during his NBA career. But this wasn't just a simple case of a retired athlete blowing off steam with a few hands of poker. This was bigger. As we previously reported, federal prosecutors allege that Arenas, the former Washington Wizards star who was once the face of a franchise, had taken his love for card games to an entirely different level, one that landed him directly in the crosshairs of a federal investigation. According to the indictment, the story begins in September 2021. That's when Arenas and 5 associates allegedly began renting out his luxurious mansion in Encino, a posh neighborhood nestled in the hills of Los Angeles. But this wasn't for Airbnb or a movie shoot. Instead, prosecutors say it was transformed into an exclusive, members-only gambling den. It wasn't just an occasional weekend gathering. This was a systematic, large-scale, organized operation that reportedly ran until July 2022. A full year of running a casino under the radar in a city known for keeping its ear close to the ground. Authorities claim Arenas didn't do it alone. He allegedly hired someone specifically to oversee the transformation of his home into what essentially became an underground casino. The house itself, a sprawling estate with every imaginable luxury, became the epicenter of a gambling operation that catered to a wealthy clientele looking for more than just a game, they wanted an experience. And Arenas, it seems, delivered just that. Sources close to the investigation say the operation was as extravagant as any Vegas VIP room. There were valet attendants waiting to park high-end cars that lined the street. Inside, guests were greeted by servers dressed to impress. Waitresses carried trays of premium liquor while chefs prepared meals that rivaled those of fine dining establishments. Security guards stood posted at all key entrances, ensuring that only those who were invited could enter. The setup was tight, controlled, and highly professional. But beneath the glamour, there was a critical problem: none of it was legal. Prosecutors allege that Arenas and his associates profited from the games by collecting what's known in the gambling world as a rake. Essentially, this is a fee taken from each pot, a percentage or a fixed amount charged per hand, which goes to the house. This is standard practice in legal casinos, but it's strictly forbidden in private games without the appropriate licensing. And that, according to federal law, turned what could have been seen as friendly games among adults into a criminal enterprise. The consequences are serious. Operating an illegal gambling business is a federal offense that can carry significant prison time if convicted. But Gilbert Arenas, known throughout his career for his devil-may-care attitude and his tendency to laugh in the face of pressure, doesn't seem fazed. In fact, he's pleaded not guilty to all charges and has maintained that he did nothing wrong. His defense appears to hinge on the argument that these were simply private games among friends and that no laws were intentionally broken. Still, federal prosecutors don't seem to be buying it. They argue that the scale of the operation, the professionalism of the staff, and the sheer amount of money exchanging hands make it clear that this was no casual gathering. One official familiar with the case described the setup as meticulously planned and executed, noting that it had all the trappings of a professional casino, without any of the oversight or regulation. The case has quickly become a topic of national discussion, not just because of Arena's celebrity status, but because it taps into a larger narrative about fame, fortune, and what happens when professional athletes struggle to fill the void left after retirement. For some, it's the adrenaline rush of new ventures. For others, it's about staying relevant. And for a few, it seems, it's about pushing boundaries that perhaps should have been left untouched. Arenas has never been one to stay out of the headlines. Over the years, his name has been tied to numerous controversies, some serious, others simply bizarre. From his infamous locker room gun incident with teammate Javaris Crittenton to his colorful presence on social media, Arenas has always kept fans guessing. He's charismatic, polarizing, and unpredictable. And now, with these new allegations, his post-NBA chapter is looking more dramatic than anyone could have expected. What's perhaps most surprising is how Arenas continues to maintain his signature sense of humor in the face of adversity. Friends and followers of his online platforms say he hasn't missed a beat. He's still posting jokes, sharing memes, and commenting on trending topics as though nothing has changed. Some say it's admirable, others call it delusional. But Arenas has always lived by his own rules, and this situation appears to be no different. Legal experts say the case could take months, if not years, to fully resolve. It will likely involve testimony from multiple witnesses, financial records, and potentially damning surveillance footage. And while Arenas remains free for now, his future is far from secure. If convicted, he could face hefty fines and years behind bars. But for now, he walks free, continuing to act as though the charges are merely a bump in the road. Some fans have rallied behind him, using hashtags like #FreeGilbert and posting old highlights of his playing days to remind the world of his greatness. Others, however, have voiced disappointment, saying this is yet another example of a fallen star who couldn't stay out of trouble. Still, it's hard to ignore the deeper questions this case raises. How does someone who once played in front of tens of thousands end up running an underground casino? What pushes a man who had everything, fame, money, respect, to risk it all for something so reckless? Is it boredom? Is it addiction? Or is it just the thrill of feeling powerful again? For Arenas, perhaps it was about recapturing a piece of the past. The NBA is a league that worships youth, and the spotlight doesn't shine forever. For many former players, the transition into life after basketball can be brutally difficult. The structure, the attention, the schedule, it all vanishes overnight. And what's left is a quiet that can be deafening. For some, that silence is unbearable. They chase new highs. They seek new ways to feel relevant, powerful, alive. Whatever the reason, the consequences of Arenas' choices are real and unfolding. And yet, as he danced down those jailhouse steps, one couldn't help but notice that he still carried himself like a man who believed he'd already won. Perhaps it was bravado. Perhaps it was denial. Or perhaps, in his mind, the game isn't over, it's just entering a new quarter. He may be out on bail, but the final buzzer hasn't sounded yet. In the court of public opinion, the verdict is already being debated. But the real judgment will come from a jury, one that won't be swayed by flash or flare, but by facts. Still, if there's one thing we know about Gilbert Arenas, it's that he doesn't play by the usual rules. He never has. And this case, like everything else in his life, will be anything but ordinary. As the legal drama continues to unfold, one thing remains certain: Arenas isn't backing down. Whether he's innocent or guilty, he's playing his hand with confidence. But in the game of life, the stakes are higher than any poker table. And this time, he might be all in.